So for step 13, attaching the steering servo, well, you can see that we've got these two pieces here, which are brackets that will fit onto the chassis so that the servo can be attached to that. So we've got a bunch of screws and washers, and then we actually have to build the adjuster, which looks a little different to what we've seen in other Tamiya kits, so this will be interesting. And where is that? And of course the cable is going to pass through there. So there is all of the hardware that we need for this step, along with these two bracket pieces here. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So I think what we'll do first is let's get these two bracket pieces onto the chassis. So you can see the way this is going to fit, that this one sits there and this piece sits on top of there. So that's how that's got to fit. So if we look at the underside, we're grabbing an MA5, so they are the flathead screws. That's going to go in there, and then it's got to attach to here. So that's going to have to work like that. So I wonder what will be easiest. I have a feeling, you know what, just to make this easier, we're going to start with the top, because it's going to be a little easier to put these on if I do it that way. So let's start here. So if that's going to go and fits onto there, we can screw this down and we've got something solid to work with. So if I can get that. Let's see here. I want to make sure that is correct. There we go. Now, I'm not going to go all the way because I don't want to over tighten initially. So let's do the same thing with the other side. Grab one of the flathead screws. This is going to sit right like that. So this one has to go into that hole right there. And again, put a little bit of pressure on that just to get the screw started. Seems like that's going in correct. So we'll just screw that in. Yep. So again, let's grab one of those flathead screws now and come in from the bottom. And because this is now attached, it's going to be easier to actually line this up and get it into the hole. Now, I think we'll have to do it this way. As long as I can line it up on that side. Match the hole. Yes, there we go. There we go. As long as that's going, yeah, that looks about right. So let's just continue to screw this in. Now, I don't want to over tighten it again, but now that we know that that is in, I can screw this down a bit more. And same again on this side. And you'll know when you've got to the end, because it's going to be a pretty tight fit. But you don't want to do it too much and then end up stripping something. Okay, so that's good to go. So now we just grab the other flathead, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Make sure that hole is matched. Put that in. Make sure that's going in right, yes. I'm just putting a little bit of pressure on with my index finger just to sort of hold it in. And just keep turning. And that's about right. I will turn this around and do this one now. And again, you're going to know when you get to the end. It's just, you're going to feel it. And there we go. And that's how it's going to end up looking at on the bottom. And there we go. There's our bracket on the top, and they're nice and firm. So that is that part done. So now we need to start working on this and get the servo attached to that bracket. So based on what they're showing here, you can see that there's this A2 piece which you can use to adjust the height of the servo. But from what I can see, I'm not going to need to do that. So these MA2 screws that we had for this, we're actually not going to need them at all. We're only going to be working with these MB2s. So if I grab the chassis, you can see that they're showing that they want the cable underneath here. So we're first going to need to do that because we need to get that out of the way. And then I'll just pull that out. That is going to end up sitting just like that, and this cable obviously is out of the way. So what we're going to do is, you can see that we need the MB2 screws, and we're going to need a washer. And then we're going to put each screw on the four corners of the servo. So let's get it started. And that's one started. Grab the other one. Same thing. Just because of the way this is being put in, I'm going to do this crosswise so that I can get this one in as well. It's going to go in there, yes. And because we've got that crosswise now, I'm going to just continue to put these ones in and go around. And again, I'm not tightening anything down yet. I want to get these screws in first. So, one last one that we'll do on the other side again. Grab the screw, the washer. And get it going. Yep, there we go. Okay, so what I've got to do now is just tighten these all up and go around. Now you get the idea with that, so I'm not going to put that on camera. I'll leave it here and we'll come back after I've got them screwed down. But essentially just screw them all the way around and make sure that's secure. Okay, so there we go. All 4 screws are nicely tightened down. I haven't over tightened them because you're going to strip it out if you do put too much force. The only thing for me is that I actually set this back as far as it could go so that it was level, so that the servo, it just felt right. Like when I pushed it back to the end, it sat properly. So I'm happy with that. Now, one interesting thing is, because now I've just realized what this was when we put that screw in that little plastic part, it's the stopper for the steering. So you can see that as this moves through, it stops it from going too far. It can't go any farther. So that's what that screw was. Interesting. So anyway, there we go. We've got the mount in, we've got the servo in. Now let's work on the adjuster because we're going to then need to attach it to the servo and to our steering. So let's see here. It's an interesting system the way they've got this done. So if I grab, and if I know it's here somewhere, if I grab our Allen key here, you can see that the way this goes on is they're essentially showing you using the Allen key to screw it into one of our adjusters. And I'll just try to make that level. Yeah, and just keep turning it in. Now it says don't over tighten, but we also know that we only want a 5mm gap approximately, so you know it's got to go in a fair ways. And let's take the other one, and of course now that this is on, we've got something to grab, so we can push this one on, and yeah, that actually went on pretty good. Pretty straight, it's level. And let's see what we can do here. So again, we want it only 5mm, and it looks like even with that, I can open it up a bit. Couple more turns, and there's the 5. And if we wanted to do just a final check, that pretty much is the 5mm. So there we go. That's what the adjuster should look like, and it actually makes it quite easy using the Allen key to get that right. So now what are we left with? We need to attach it to the ball connector on the rack steering and the ball connector on the servo. So to fit the adjuster, well, we're going to grab this. I'm going to pop this on to the ball connector using the pair of pliers from the side. There it is. And now we've got to do more or less the same thing with the servo. So let's make sure that's sitting correctly. And this might be a little bit more difficult, but we'll get it there eventually. Actually, let's do it. I need to do it this way so I can get the right hold up. There. I have to use my other hand while I hold this one. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm holding it sideways. Thing will balance. Come on. There we go. So there we go. There is our steering arm in place. Now again, you'll notice that it's slightly off, but that's because this is slightly off. So when we make the adjustment with the fine tuning on the radio, this will put it all back into line. But that's very cool. So there is our steering system together. So we can put that aside, and we're now going to move on to step 14 and attach the steering rods.